Yo, what is up, Bakery, and welcome back to another YouTube video. So I went ahead and sorted the 43 Warzone changes that you need to know into 3 different categories. Now, the first category is the important category, the next one is the general, just generalized changes, and the last one is advanced for those players who are returning back to Warzone. Now, for those important changes, there are 13. Those will be listed first, just in case you don't have time to watch the entire video. We'll get those important changes to you ASAP, so let's go ahead and do that. Starting off with number 1 is that Urzikstan is 20% smaller than Al Mazrah. Now, this I have at the top of our important changes list because I feel like it's definitely underrated. People don't really think about it as much because, you know, the map being smaller, what does it mean? Well, I mean, it means that you need to pick your drop spot a little better. You need to think about the people that's around you because there definitely could be people way closer to you than you expect with you having 20% less space to move around than you did in Al Mazrah. Number 2. The new circles and zone timings are equal to a total game of 20 minutes, being the entire Warzone match will only last around 20 minutes, give or take a couple minutes. This is way faster pace than we're used to. Way back in Verdansk, games could last upwards of 30 minutes. This is being another 10 minutes below that. I feel this is very important with the turnings. The zones are a little bit faster now, so make sure you're keeping up with those rotations. Those last 2 changes taken into account, let's get into number 3. Number 3 is that there's only 100 total players on the entire map as opposed to 150. Now with 20-minute game time and the map being 20% smaller than Al Mazrah, this change was definitely needed. I think 100 total players on the map is definitely a W, although this was a controversial change at the start. Number 4. All squad size game modes will be available all season long. This is very nice to know because if you don't know if you're going to have a quad when you hop on, a trio, a duo, a solo, you'll always have a mode to play. Number 5. Stats will reset. This is definitely an important change because a lot of people could have some chalk stats in Al Mazrah or not have really played for them and wanted like a clean slate. This is definitely nice for those dropping into Urzikstan for the first time. Everyone's on the same page. Number 6. One-shot snipers will return. This is definitely an important change because sniping is a staple in Warzone, and the one-shot snipers just didn't feel good in Warzone 2. I mean, Al Mazrah sniping was just awful compared to Verdansk. I mean, when we had the Kar 98, the Swiss, fun sniper rifles that felt good, I really hope that we get some nice snipers in Urzikstan. With this one-shot snipers returning, that is a great step in the right direction. Number 7, there will be no weapon tuning at all in Modern Warfare 3/Warzone Season 1 for Urzikstan, which is a massive W. I remember having to give IRL friends and stuff my builds and having to explain to them the tuning system every time I wanted to give them a build. It was awful. I give tuning a 0 out of 10. This is amazing. Number 8. This is not a change that a lot of people think is important, but I really do believe it is. The portable radar distance is doubled to 76 meters. Now, if you don't know what a portable radar is, most buildings that you walk into could have them just sitting on shelves, sitting on benches, sitting on chairs. Pick up those portable radars as they're basically like a UAV that you have in your pocket and your enemies will not even know that you popped it. This is a very underrated change. Number 9. The loadout has been reduced to $15,000 and is also scaled depending on what mode you're in and how many people you have in your team. This is a massive W, as in Al Mazrah, you had to find $20,000 every game to find a loadout, which was terrible. Number 10. The starting circles are way less extreme. Now, if you don't know what that means, in Al Mazrah or Verdansk or even Caldera, when you dropped in, the starting circle could just completely shift away from your regular drop spot. With this change, the less extreme default circles will basically mean that regardless of the zone or the flight path or the game that you're playing, every first zone should be pretty much similar and allow you to drop to those same drop spots every game or the same place on the map that you like to play. This is a great change that makes it way less RNG. Number 11. The spawn protection time has been decreased to 2.5 seconds from 10 seconds. This is a very good change and very important, I feel, in BR, where sometimes you'd be dropping in and knowing that you had some spawn protection to work with and not pulling your chute when you got shot at, knowing that you really couldn't die. Now, with spawn protection being decreased to 2.5 seconds, it's basically non-existent now, so just make sure when you're dropping in, you know you no longer have spawn protection. Number 12. The scavenger contract is back, and every time you complete it, just like Verdansk, it awards you a carrier plate, an armor carrier plate. Now, this is a great change because the scavenger contract was desperately needed at Al Mazrah. The safe cracker was awful. This is a guaranteed way to make money. I would recommend even dropping off start almost every game, doing a scavenger, getting that guaranteed armor plate, and getting that cash. Amazing way to start the game. Number 13, the last of our important changes here. Input delay when getting into vehicles to accelerate has been reduced by 50%. Now back in Al Mazrah, even Caldera, and a little bit in Verdansk, you'd hop in a car and acceleration was almost impossible without getting killed. The cars now actually accelerate when you want to by scale of 50%. It's definitely going to be noticeable and will keep you alive way longer than you think it would. Let's head into our general changes. Starting off our general category with number 1, Gulag entry kits can now be stowed in the backpack for a teammate. This change is honestly, it could have been in the important category because imagine you go to the Gulag and you come back and your teammate right out of their backpack drops you a Gulag entry kit. That's another way to come back. This will definitely increase the amount of Gulags there are per game and increase the amount of people that get to respawn. You could probably die upwards of 4 to 5 times in one game with reses, Gulag entry kits, and redeploy tokens. This is a pretty big change. Number 2, the new Gulag public event, Go Again. Yet again, another way that you could drop back into the Warzone, where if you lose your Gulag, you could play it again. This is another change where I feel like the amount of times that you could die in a game of Warzone, it honestly doesn't matter as much if you die. So don't worry if you die, you can get res, you can get flared. What do you guys think about this change? Number 3, the allied loadout crates have an in-world highlight. Previously, when walking up the loadouts, there was absolutely no way to tell if it was your loadout or an enemy's. This makes it very, very simple. You walk up to the loadout that's yours, and you can pick that up. Number 4, increased Gulag entry kit drop rate. Now, this is another change that feeds off of those first 2 that we talked about. An increased Gulag entry kit drop rate not only allows you to stow more for your teammates, but to come back from the Gulag more often yourself, making it essentially a really easy way to respawn almost viably every single game. Make sure you're picking up those Gulag entry kits. Number 5. Enemy pings will now show on kill cams. This is a change that I think is great to stop accusations. A lot of people like to get straight to the point when they die and call someone a cheater, even though there's definite ways that they could have had information on you. Yet another way to just make sure that a player is legit when they kill you. This is a W. Number 6. Post-victory Gulag looting. Now, this is what it sounds like. Once you've won the Gulag, you can run around for a little bit longer to pick up those cash and guns off the ground in the Gulag. Definitely something that's different than the previous versions of Warzone. Number 7. Buy stations will now be accessible 30 meters into gas, which if you don't know what this means, previously when a buy station touched the gas for a long period of time or even a short period of time, it would become inaccessible. Now you're able to tell what's going on, when it's going on. If it's 30 meters into the gas, you could check, then you know that obviously that buy station is inactive and you can't go to it. Great change. Number 8, there's now a new buy station inventory, which is different than it was in Al Mazrah. If you haven't checked it out yet, go up to a buy, could be anywhere, and check what's inside. It could just be what you need to win the game. Number 9, the fire sale discount is now up to 50% off. This is a massive change to know because you know if there's a fire sale, a UAV is going to be cheap, a loadout's going to be cheap, resing your teammates is going to be cheap. That 50% discount is massive. Number 10, the loadout cost now scales on squad size. This is great because if you're a solo playing solo duos, your loadout cost will be equivalent of that of a solo and not the full duo, making it really easy to get your loadout when you're down a teammate, if your teammate's dev-aired, if you just started a game and didn't get a random fill. This is a great change. Number 11, the redeploy drone now throws you significantly further than it used to in the previous games. This is a great change because getting around the map is going to be a lot easier, and if you remember, the map is 20% smaller than Al Mazrah, so already traversing is going to be upwards of 30% faster than it was on the other map. This is a great change. Number 12. There are now more contracts available in the late game. This is amazing because previously, and even back in Verdansk, you get to the end game and there wouldn't be any contracts or anything you could do to get money to get your teammates back. This is a great change. Look for those scavengers in the last circle. Those will really, really help you get your teammates back. Number 13. The intel contract capture can now be sped up by multiple squad mates present. This is a good change to know, and honestly not anything too crazy. However, if you're doing a recon, you might as well have your teammates sit on it so that it is faster. Nice change. Number 14. The most wanted contract now awards guaranteed gulag entry kits in the supply box. This means if you do a most wanted and you've already been to the gulag, you will guarantee another gulag redeploy when you do that most wanted. There's just so many different ways you could get your teammates back or come back yourself. This is a change that's going to mix up the tide of the game. Number 15. The Modern Warfare 3 operators have a default parachute, making it easy to tell the difference between the Modern Warfare 2 operators and the Modern Warfare 3. This is a change that I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to include in this. However, it's a change that you might as well know. Number 16. The gulags have been completely updated. The weapon loadouts, the map variants, and the new public events lead to a completely different gulag experience than you experienced back in Al Mazrah, Caldera, or Verdansk. You're just going to have to go to the gulag to see it. Lastly, let's get into our advanced category. Starting us off at number 1, the big game bounty from Caldera, if you remember, will return. Now, if you don't know what the big game bounty is, essentially it's a regular bounty contract, gives you the same amount of money. However, it hunts down one of the biggest targets on the map, whether that means they had the most kills, they picked up the most money in the game, they've won a lot of gulags, whatever that may be, they've got good stats for that game, and it wants you to go hunt them down. Upon killing them, you will receive an advanced UAV. This is definitely a great way to, get fast-paced action games, get high kills. The advanced UAV, massive. I love this change. Number 2, the OG loadout crate model returns. This is just nice. You can kind of reminisce on the OG loadout crate, but nothing too crazy in terms of the tide of the game. I just wanted to include it because it's so nice just thinking about the older stuff. Number 3. The gas mask is now the first item in the loadout UI. This one kind of explains itself. It doesn't really need too much explaining. However, it's nice that the gas mask is now always on the first item in the loadout UI. Number 4. The buy stations show on the TAC map if accessible. Previously, if the buy station was in the zone, you wouldn't even know whether or not you can access it. This is a great change that lets you know guaranteed you can use the buy station when you can use it and you can't when you can't. This is a great change. Number 5. Slide distance is now directly impacted by surface incline, meaning if you're sliding down the hill, you'll get a little bit faster of a slide, a little bit further of a slide. Try this for yourself. This change is pretty interesting, similar to almost Apex type. Number 6, the smoke grenade duration has been nerfed by 20%. If you remember in Al Mazrah, the smoke grenade was a blatant meta. I'm unsure whether or not the stim will take over from the smoke, but just know that the smoke grenade will last 20% shorter than it did in Al Mazrah, making it a little bit harder to get that cover when you need it. Number 7. The armor box and the munitions box no longer have a delay when deployed. Previously, you'd throw down the armor or the muni, and it would take a while to pick up your armor or munitions. You kind of just have to run past it and hope for the best and hope that you picked it up. This is a good change, so you know it's very consistent. Great change. Number 8. Abandoning a stronghold will neutralize it. This basically means once you've done a stronghold, if you leave that area after a certain amount of time, the stronghold will become inactive and you no longer own it. Just a good change to know that once you leave that stronghold, it's basically no longer yours. Number 9, the gas mask overlay has been adjusted for a clearer view. Now, I'm unsure, honestly, I haven't played enough. I can't tell you how much clearer this means. However, I do know that this is a great change because previously you'd be in the zone and you just wouldn't be able to see anything with your gas mask on. At least it's a step in the right direction at minimum. Number 10, the stealth vest no longer counters an advanced UAV. A massive change. The stealth vest literally had no counter in Al Mazrah. This just makes it a little bit more grounded and not as OP. Nice. Number 11, redeploy drones only move when deep in gas. Now, this is a great change because previously, again, I know we're talking a lot about previously, but previously you wouldn't really know when that drone was going to leave, and right when you got close to that drone, it would just dip out. Now you know that only when it's really far in gas will that leave. So you always have a little bit of a way to make that rotation. As long as that drone's there and it's not too far in gas, you can make a rotation with it. Number 12, the low health visual overlay is more transparent for better visibility. Back in Al Mazrah, if you got shot down to one shot, you literally would not be able to see because the blood on your screen was overwhelming. This is great because you're one shot a lot in Warzone. I mean, this is a game where you're getting constantly shot. It's a fast-paced VR, really good change. I think that you will notice this a lot when you're playing. Which leads us into number 13. The low health visual overlay starts at a lower health. Now, you need to be closer to one shot to actually even get that overlay, which was just obstructive at best. I mean, that overlay is not something that you want on your screen. This is definitely nice for those gunfights where you only really get it when you're one shot. Lastly, number 14. The slowdown that you receive when landing from a jump has been heavily reduced, which is something that you will notice a lot. A lot of the times you'll take jumps because you know you won't break your legs, but you'll slow down a lot so that if you're getting shot when you take that jump, unluckily, you would have just died because you'd be too slow. This reducing really helps. I think it changes the tide of the game, makes it a lot more fast-paced. I want to give a big shout out for those of you who made it to the end. I really do appreciate it. If you learned anything or you have any questions about any of these changes, I want to give a massive shout out for those of you who made it to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. We put a lot of time and effort into these. If you enjoyed it, let me know down below. And if you have any other questions regarding these changes, ask in the comments and I'll be sure to get to those. Lastly, enjoy your Warzone games. Peace.
Only 10 left.